You're listening to the international hit show, The Baby Names Podcast. And here are your hosts, the Moss Sisters.
I'm Jennifer Moss.
And I'm Mallory Moss Katz.
And we're the founders of babynames.com, the #1 site for names and meanings online. We'll start this episode by discussing cool names we've come across lately, talk about our name subject of the week, and head into celebrity baby news, then answer your questions on names and naming. So I have been binging on the 90s sitcom Living Single, and I just fell in love with the name Khadija. It just rolls off the tongue, Khadija. Now, Khadija is played by Queen Latifah, whose birth name is Dana Elaine Owens. Khadija is an Arabic name meaning premature child, and in history, Khadija al-Kubra was the first wife and follower of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. Latifah is also an Arabic name meaning delicate and kind, and it's said that Queen Latifah, or Dana, found the name in a book of Arabic baby names when she was 8 and loved it.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So she was a baby name enthusiast too when she was young.
Exactly.
Well, I heard the name Giselle this week, and I thought it was beautiful.
I do too.
We know I love those pretty French names. Giselle means pledge as an oath, not the cleaning supply. I had friends in high school, and one was named Giselle, and we call her Gigi. They were twins.
Oh.
And her sister was Mignon, like the filet, and we called her Mimi. So it was Mimi and Gigi. We're going to talk about twins a little later on.
Yeah.
I also now work with a woman named Myra, which is of Spanish origin. It is a combination name from the names Maya, Myra, and Mara.
Spell that?
Mayra.
I like that. That's really cool. I made up a name called Mayten, Mayten, after my birthday, May 10th, and I added it to the database.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
one of Jennifer's favorite made-up names.
Mayten. Although it does sound a little like maiden, so that would be strange if you say, "Hi, my name's Mayten."
I guess you could do that with August 1st, too. Ogden.
Og 5. Hey, my name's Og 5. That's like Ocho Cinco, right?
All right.
Okay, so our name subject of the week is naming multiples. Now, there are different types of multiples, like twins. I don't know if people out there know this or not, but there is identical twins and fraternal twins, or multiples. Mal, since you're the medical person in the family, can you explain the difference?
Absolutely. So for those who don't know, identical twins come from when an egg is fertilized by a sperm, which is where all babies come from, in case you missed that talk. But instead of the fertilized egg forming into one embryo, it divides itself and forms into 2 embryos. In contrast, you get fraternal twins when 2 eggs get fertilized by 2 sperm cells at pretty much the same time and develop into 2 separate embryos.
So because the fertilized egg splits in the case of identical twins, that makes them look exactly the same. Is that right?
Yes, exactly, because they have the same genes, whereas the fraternal twins don't share the same chromosomes.
And if they're a boy and girl, if they're different genders, then they have to be fraternal, correct?
That's exactly right.
Now, do they share DNA in both cases?
They share DNA. Well, all relatives share DNA.
I mean exact DNA.
They share DNA, exact DNA, if they're identical twins, but not if they're fraternal twins.
Ooh. As an aside, you know how they caught that California serial killer with DNA by, submitting it to Ancestry? Mm-hmm. They have just submitted the DNA for the Zodiac Killer, and they're expecting results in 2 to 3 months.
To be on, they submitted that to Ancestry. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
So that's how they've been finding these killers who have been elusive, is they submit the DNA and get familial hits and then trace it back to the person. I think it's fascinating.
Pretty interesting. What that has to do with baby names, I'm not quite sure, but that's pretty fun.
It is fun. Anyway, as far as naming multiples, our stance at babynames.com is that you don't try to make the names match, like matchy-matchy. Think about it. All their lives, they're going to have to share their birthdays, their looks, their clothes. They're probably going to share a school and schoolmates, maybe even friends, or be in the same class. So it's important that you give them their own identity through their names. Now, the most popular naming convention for multiples is names that start with the same letter. So that's not so bad. For example, Ava and Amelie, or Bradley and Benicia, Jonathan and Jeffrey. That's okay. Some parents will go a little further and use the same beginning and ending, like Ava and Amelia, Bradley and Betty, and Jonathan and Jordan. And for me, that's just a little too close for comfort.
Jennifer? When was the last time you heard of a baby named Betty?
Actually, my friend Sue just had a granddaughter who is named Betty Sue.
Okay, Betty Sue, welcome to the world.
Yay.
Well, then there's the rhyming names, Hayden and Jaden, Madison and Addison, Finn and Wynn, Ella and Bella. For me, that's more of a problem. I mean, think about it. It's hard enough to keep your children's names straight. Well, maybe not for us, because we had only children, Jennifer, but remember Dad? He'd call us by every other sister's name first.
Yeah, I remember that. I became Masuket Jen.
So when children's names rhyme, it's natural to get them confused.
Yeah. Again, they're going to get mixed up because they look alike, so why add this extra layer when they have to deal with this their entire lives? Are you Ella or Bella? Which one are you? So you are always one of many instead of an individual person. Now, if you are dead set on rhymey names and will not heed our expert advice, I recommend that you give them full formal names like Theodore and Frederick, and then call them Teddy and Freddie if you must. I always teased Mom that if I had twins, I would name them Hazel and Basil after our grandmother Hazel.
Yeah, but Basil, I don't know.
It's kind of coming into popularity because those Brit names are sweeping the U.S. charts, but I haven't heard of any baby Basils yet. In my sphere, if anybody out there knows of a baby Basil, let us know. I would be very excited.
Well, talking about individuality, I knew a couple of twins, and they were adorable, who started calling themselves this one and that one because that's what everyone was calling them.
Oh.
So if one was thirsty, she would say, "This one wants water." It was very cute, but also tells us what twins pick up and how people talk about them.
Exactly. This one and that one. That is not a name, you guys.
Well, anyway, what about names that are almost the same name, like, Del and Della, or Angelo and Angela, Marcello and Marcella, like boys' versions and girl versions of the same name?
Oh, I would advise against that. I mean, that's not giving them their own identity. My daughter went to school with twins Ashton and Ashley, who were commonly referred to as the Ash twins, or God forbid, Heaven and Nevaeh. I mean, avoid. Now, that's not to say that you can't give them a theme if you have to, but make the names different enough so they don't feel like they're one part of a whole person.
You know what? Kind of like Kevin and Nevaeh.
Kevin or Heaven?
Oh, I kind of like Kevin and Nevaeh, actually.
Kevin and Nevaeh would work. Kevin and Heaven would not work. in my book, at least.
Well, let's talk about some famous multiples. There's Vin Diesel, whose real name was is Mark Sinclair Vincent. He has a fraternal twin named Paul Vincent. Mark and Paul, both common biblical names, both disciples. That works in our naming conventions.
Yeah. Scarlett Johansson has a brother, Hunter. They're obviously fraternal. They're both interesting names, not popular at the time of their birth, and with the hard T sound in both of them, so that's good naming.
Okay, so we also have Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Yeah, and believe it or not, they're fraternal twins.
Huh?
Yes, even though they look almost exactly alike.
I had no clue. I thought for sure they'd be identical twins.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they played Michelle on Full House, the original series.
Yeah, and it's very common to use multiples to play babies in television shows or movies because they have a limit to screen time. And by using twins, you double the amount of time you can use them during a particular filming session. So great separation of identity for Mary-Kate and Ashley, totally different names.
Okay, all right. Well, Laverne Cox, who plays transgender Sophia on Orange is the New Black, has an identical twin brother. No, she doesn't, actually,
Yes, she
Jennifer.
does.
Oh,
She's transgender.
You're right. You are right.
Yep.
Okay. So she has an identical twin brother, musician M. Lamar. In fact, on Orange is the New Black, they used M. Lamar to play Laverne's character Sophia on her pre-transition flashbacks.
Ingenious.
Laverne's birth name was Roderick Laverne Cox, and M. Lamar's real name is Reginald Lamar. So at birth, the twins were Roderick and Reginald. Not bad. Both start with R. Both have 8 letters.
Yep. Rami Malek from Mr. Robot has an identical twin brother named Sammy. And I don't know if it's Rami and Sammy or Rami and Sami. I don't know. Or Rami and Sami or Rami and Sammy. So anyway, this is exactly what I'd advise against. By the way, Rami, I think it's Rami. Rami
so
is
too.
soon to be starring in Bohemian Rhapsody playing Freddie Mercury. And although I'm excited to see that film, I don't know about the casting. I hope he doesn't mumble through that like he does Mr. Robot, because that kind of just ruined the show for me.
Oh, I don't know. I'm a fan of
Really?
Rami. Yes, I thought he did a great job in Mr. Robot. Honestly, I liked the first season. The second season I had a little trouble with and actually didn't make it through. And as you guys know, we do not get any money for our...
We just like to gab about television.
and ancestry and everything.
Right, exactly. Any brands that we mention, they're getting all this promotion for free.
So, boy, pop star from the 2000s. Aaron Carter has a twin sister, Angel. I guess that's different enough to be individual. I'm just not a fan of the name Angel for women. It's too identified with the nickname, like calling a woman honey or sweetie, Angel.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the name Angel either. And it's also an expectation name if you think about it. You're expecting her to be sweet and angelic her entire life.
What perfect if she isn't? Angel.
Yes, exactly. Of course, and talking about kid stars, identical twins Dylan and Cole Sprouse started as famous child actors. Cole actually played Ross's son Ben on Friends.
Oh, okay.
And then they had their own show, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. And now Cole Sprouse is playing Jughead on Riverdale. And yet for identical twins, they look very distinct. One is taller than the other. They have very different facial features.
Are you sure they're identical?
Yes, I looked it up. So it's like the opposite of the Olsen twins.
Okay, weird.
Yeah.
Giovanni Ribisi, who's also on Friends as Phoebe's brother and now is starring in Amazon's Sneaky Pete, has a twin sister named Marissa. Obviously Italian names, different enough, well chosen. I like it.
I like it too. And now some celebrity babies who are twins. Of course, the famous Knox and Vivienne Jolie Pitt from Brad and Angie. Julia Roberts twins Hazel and Phinnaeus. Hazel Patricia and Phinnaeus Walter Motor. Sarah Jessica Parker and Matt Broderick have Marion Loretta Elwell and Tabitha Hodge Broderick. Ricky Martin, and I just love Ricky from the assassination of Gianni Versace. That's another one. Plug. If you haven't seen it, go see it. He's been nominated for an Emmy. Anyway, Mateo and Valentino Martin are Ricky's twins. Holly Robinson Pete and Rodney Pete have twins Rodney male and Ryan female. And they also have two sons, Robinson and Roman. So obviously a naming convention there with our names. Modern Family's Julie Bowen has twin boys John and Gus. And Diana Krall and Elvis Costello have Dexter Henry Lorcan Costello and Frank Harlem James Costello. So as you can see, the celebrities do really well on naming multiples, better than naming single children.
That's for sure. No Moxie crime fighter. And we can't forget the Goslin children, Cara Nicole and Madeline Maddie Kate, the twins and sextuplets, Aiden, Jonathan, Colin Thomas, Joel Kevin, and daughters Alexis Faith, Hannah Joy, and Leah Hope.
Yeah, so they used kind of a convention with Faith, Joy, and Hope, definitely, but they're different enough so they're all individualistic names, and I think that was good naming. And then, of course, there are the Duggars with 19 children, all names starting with the letter J. Now, there are two sets of twins in there, Jedidiah and Jeremiah, and twins John David and Jana. What is your problem with the Duggars?
I don't know. I think, honestly, J names for 1,700 children sounds ridiculous. They're just making up names at the end of it. And also, I think it's exploitative at one point to keep having children so you stay on television. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Duggars, and that is just my opinion, so there.
Okay.
All right. And Big Brother, my favorite summer indulgence besides baseball, often does a twin twist in the house where they'll use twins and switch them out and see if the house guests notice the difference. Remember Liz and Julia Nolan?
Yes, I do.
I'm so sure.
Yeah, and apparently they've done it on other versions too, like UK and Australia. But the jig was up pretty quickly for Liz and Julia as they had totally different personalities.
Also, the dentist, Johnny Mac, noticed a difference in their teeth, and that's how he figured them out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was so fascinating.
I know.
Anyway, watch BB, everybody. We love the show. We need to go out and start getting money for this stuff.
And now it's time for Celebrity Baby News.
So speaking of your favorite family, the Duggars, Ginger Duggar and her husband Jeremy Vuolo welcomed a baby girl this week named Felicity Nicole Vuolo. Felicity means happiness, and I think that's a good choice for a baby name. It's not a J name.
It is not a J name. And Ginger is an exact example of a made-up name because it starts with J, Jinger, and they're just coming up with J names, but they're faking them. It should be G.
Well, that's true because there are lots of J names. You don't have to go to a G name and change it.
That's my point. Thank you very much. All right. So rapper Cardi B and husband Offset had a baby girl last week and named her, get this, Kulture Kiari Cephas. And Kiari is Offset's legal name. Kulture is the name of Offset's first album. So the baby's name is Dad's album name plus Dad's first name. There were mixed reactions to the name online. Some people were saying that that's culture with a K, reminded them of the medical procedure, and Chiari makes me think of the Chiari malformation, a condition where part of the brain pushes out the skull into the spinal column.
Oh, yuck.
Yes.
You know, I would hate the word or the name culture if it started with a C, and I double hate it that it starts with a K. I think it's incredibly narcissistic to name a baby after a product that you create. I mean, the other way around is okay if you named an album after your child, but, you know, I just can't with this one.
Well, you know, Jennifer, you don't want babynames.com moss?
No, I don't.
All right.
Maybe for my next cat.
All right. Well, supermodel Kate Upton and her husband, Justin Verlander, pitcher for the Houston Astros, are expecting their first baby, as she posted in an Instagram photo while on vacation in Florida. Justin then reposted the photo, get this, saying, "You're going to be the most amazing mom. I can't wait to start this new journey with you. You're the most thoughtful, loving, caring, and strong woman I've ever met. I'm so proud that our little one is going to be raised in this world by a woman like you. I love you so much." Verlander may be a pitcher, but he hit a home run with that post.
I don't know. I'm always suspect of couples who put all of their passion out online for everyone to read. I think they'll be broken up in a year.
Shut up. I think that they're a wonderful couple. You should have seen them at the World Series. They were cutie pies up the yoo-ha-ha.
Okay. Well, that's it, guys. It was a slow 2 weeks in celebrity baby news. But to keep up with what's new, follow the Celebrity Baby blog on babynames.com. Just go to our website and click Celebrities in the menu.
You bet.
So this is our names Q&A segment, and normally we take questions and emails from our listeners. But last Wednesday, I did a live AMA on Reddit. And for those who aren't familiar with the concept, AMA stands for Ask Me Anything. And celebs or people with interesting jobs go on the IAMA subreddit and basically just host a Q&A session. And I got some great questions that I wanted to share with you and our listeners.
Well, I did sneak on, and I saw a question about someone naming their kids Sassy Pants.
Yeah, well, I got some stupid questions too. They're always trolls. Do not name your child Sassy Pants. There, that's my answer to that one.
All right. Well, there were some good questions too. I noticed that 2 people asked, does the name you pick for your baby influence their chances of becoming successful adults, or does it affect personalities? What do you think about that, Jen?
I think it's a resounding no. I mean, there are no studies that conclusively show that a name will influence your success or failure at life. I mean, look at Barack Hussein Obama. Obama rhymed with Osama, as in bin Laden. Hussein at the time was identified with Saddam. Not many had heard of the Arabic name Barack, but he was still elected president for 2 terms, and he was a very beloved one. Now, also take celebrity actor Sylvester Stallone. Before he became popular, Sylvester was either a cartoon cat or identified as a geeky name. But nobody mistook Stallone for being geeky. There have been John Presidents and John Murderers. I think a name is what you make it.
You know, I agree for the most part that a name does not necessarily make or break you as far as success in life. However, I do think that we need to keep in mind how the name will grow with the child into adulthood.
True.
For instance, naming someone a nickname like Frankie instead of the typical route like Frank might put them in less of a running for a CEO role or a partnership at the firm.
Yes, because it's more diminutive and it's a child name, or Jimmy and James.
Mm-hmm.
Always give them the choice. Yeah. Now, that being said, This is really interesting. There are studies that show if you have an occupational surname, you are more likely to go into that profession. For example, if your surname is Doctor, you're more likely to be a doctor than if your last name was Moss. I think that's fascinating. And now that occupational surnames are becoming first names like Mason, Thatcher, Sawyer, I wonder if that will affect their career choices. I mean, will Sawyers grow up to become lumberjacks? I wonder.
Well, will I eventually become a cat?
I don't know. You're a cat lady for sure.
Shut up. Anyway.
I think 4 is right on the cusp.
I don't have 4 cats.
Yeah, you used to have 4.
Well, maybe. All right. Anyway, here's another great question. How do you feel about people using names from cultures that aren't their own? I mean, Americans using Bodhi, Ezra, Kalani, etc.
I don't think it's an issue to borrow names from other cultures, especially here in the United States where we're a melting pot. I think the only issue would be like name appropriation and like cultural appropriation, or as a subset of it, it's where the person borrowing from a particular culture would be part of its oppressive race. So here's an example. White parents using Native American tribe names as baby names. Native Americans have said that they are very offended by that. And yeah, it's popular, like Dakota, Cheyenne as examples. But again, I'd like to create a whole show around this and get someone to join us from the first people to talk about it.
Okay.
Since there was no systematic oppression of U.S. Caucasians of East Indians, a white person naming their son or daughter Bodhi might not be offensive, but taking, say, Buddha as a name might be offensive because that's our god. But like I said, I'd like to do more research on this before we dive further into the subject. To check out my AMA, and it's still open for questions, go to reddit.com/r/IAMA and search for Baby Names Expert.
All right. Well, good times. Good time. I miss my Sassy and her brother Hank.
I know your kitties Sassy and Hank had to cross the Rainbow Bridge this past year. I'm sorry I brought it up, and I'm sorry about that.
Anyway, how's your new kitty?
Wreaking havoc upon the household.
And what did you name him?
Lionel, because he's such a cute little lion.
All right. Well, anyway, good choice. And I can't wait to meet little Lionel when I come visit in August.
Hooray! And that's it for the show, guys. Keep cool, and so tune in next time when we talk about temporal names. And that means names of time things like months, days, and numbers.
We can come up with a whole thing on that, Jennifer?
I hope so. We'll try.
All right.
If not, then we'll talk about created names and creative spelling.
Okay, well, maybe we'll do a little of both.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
All right.
I love you.
Love you too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.